All right, hey everyone, Mark here. So I'm just running things a little bit differently today because I am simulcasting onto TradingView. All right, so let's make this quick. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, as you know, we're going to go over Bitcoin. I guess YouTube may not like me simulcasting. Okay, so anyway, but let me go forward with this thing. Let's see how it goes. All right, anyway, so like I was saying, we're going to cover Bitcoin first. I want to take a quick look at Uniswap and Link because we had some swing trades in that. And of course, I want to cover the stock market, what's going on there, and the US dollar. We have some questions about that, and that's pretty important situation going on there. All right, so with that being said, let's get this thing started. Now, I'm in the video. All right, cool. We're going to try this again and see if we have bandwidth problems or not. All right, anyway, if you're watching on TradingView, I want to welcome you. And of course, the regular people, you know what to do here. If you have a market or a stock or whatever you'd like to see, please share it in the channel now. So once I get to it in the chat, I'll be able to, once I finish my portion of the analysis, I'll be able to cover what you want to see in the chat. Now, real quick, I just want to mention, if it's an altcoin, make sure you put USD or USDT after the symbol so I don't talk about the wrong symbol for 3 hours. Okay, cool. So with that being said, I'm going to review the economic calendar real quick. Since I have to follow some house rules here, I'm not going to show the economic calendar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just look over it very quickly to see if there are any events worth mentioning. Okay, so I'm just looking at here for the 9th, which is tomorrow, we have European GDP. Okay, then we have what? Let me see here. Running through this real quick. Consumer Price Index for China, that's on the 9th at 8:30. Again, that's not a big deal. A lot of these economic reports, Consumer Price Index on the 10th at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Something like that, it could move markets slightly, but none of these reports, not even NFP or the FOMC meetings, have had a really major effect like they used to. The NFP on Friday had somewhat of an effect, which was interesting, but since then we don't really see much action. On the 11th, we have ECB rate interest, the interest rate decision, okay, which can affect if you're in the euro and stuff like that. Then we have on the 12th, Canadian net change unemployment rate. Okay, that's not a big deal. On Friday, the 12th, we have Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. Usually not a big deal. So there's no major news events this week for anything. The reason why the news is important, especially if you're in something that's very interest rate sensitive, it could cause major moves, especially if you're like in a Forex pair or something like that. Okay, speaking of Forex pairs, I am going to mention the dollar franc today. We're going to take a quick look at that. All right, so let me say hi to the other channel here real quick. Can I say YouTube? I don't know if I'm even allowed to say YouTube without being banned here. Anyway, so hey, Sean, good to see you. Ricky and Gabriel. Travel asks, greetings from Italy. What's a less formal word for greetings? You could say what's up. You could just say hello, hi. That's cool. Shayshank, good to see you. Mikal, I never get that right. I know it's like Mikal or something like that. Okay, Ilya, HS, good to see you all. All right, cool. So let's talk about Bitcoin first. All right, and here's the situation. So I sent out a swing trade. Actually, we had some swing trades that we sent out back in here in this area. Okay, you all know that. Some of you are in that trade. Now, since then, we've had a couple more buy signals. And instead of sending out Bitcoin, because we have a couple of trades going in that, I sent out some altcoins, okay? So I sent out Uniswap, I sent out Link, and that was based on this Bitcoin situation right here. Who can tell me what we're looking at right there? I'm gonna make it real big so you can see. Who can tell me what we're looking at? What do you guys see right there? What do you guys and girls see right there? And if I have any questions in the other channel here, please let me know. I don't think anyone's even watching in the other channel. Okay, I see 0 views. Anyway, okay. I'm just testing this out, by the way. Okay, so what do you guys see on the chart there? Who can tell me? What is this? What do you see? I know there's a little bit of a delay here, so I'll wait. What do you see right there? What do you see? And maybe you figure out why I called the Link trade and the Uniswap trade. Well, we have a double bottom, but more importantly, we have pin bars. Pin bars off of a higher low area, okay? This is very important. That's a buy signal. Not only is that a buy signal, it's a buy signal within the context of a broader bullish trend. So everyone's saying higher lows, bullish candles, ascending triangle. The key, what I'm looking at there are pin bars. Pin bars. Pin bars are reversal candles, right? These pin bars right here that I have in the blue box. By the way, if you're on TradingView and you read my article that I put out on Saturday, this is a good time to ask questions about it because it's hard for me to answer all those questions that people put in the comment section. So that's why I'm trying to simulcast on there so that I can answer questions at the same time. So if you see it and you have a question about it, please ask me and I'll be happy to answer questions about the article. Okay, so I got some questions here. Hey, good to see everyone here on TradingView. All right, cool. All right, so let me continue here. So that's why I called out Uniswap and I called out the other one, Link. So let's take a quick look at Uniswap. What's going on with that? And there's a point that I want to make. That's why I'm going over this real quick. So there's the trade. You can see it. The buy stop was at 25.5. Target 1 was at 30. Target 2 was at 35. Today's high was 34.92. Now, some people may have actually gotten out on this. Someone in our other chat had mentioned that Uniswap reached target 2. It didn't actually touch 35, at least not on the Coinbase exchange, but perhaps a different exchange it touched. If that's the case, great. That's 2/3 of the position out. If it didn't touch and you're still in, it doesn't hurt to take that second part off the table here because, I mean, it pretty much went, it was at 7 cents, 8 cents away from the target. I mean, that's pretty close. Now, I mean, you're at 33, whatever. You know, so it kind of gave a little back, but so what? It's still a profit. So just that's based on your discretion. I mean, or you could just hold it and see because, you know, obviously we're expecting target 3. Now, I mentioned that, and let's take a look at Link real quick. I mentioned these. Look at Link, right? Link, Chain Link. Today's high is what? 31.29. Target 1 was 31. So we're out of 1/3 of the position. Nice. These trades, I did not call them on their own. I didn't say, oh, Link looks good, I'm just going to send out the trade. I didn't do that. I said Bitcoin has a buy signal in it. So let me send out some alternates that will follow Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the leader. Okay, and that's why those alts were good. They were ideal candidates for an alternative to Bitcoin. Now, you know, we don't take alternate. If I put alternate on the message, that means we're not taking it because we're in Bitcoin. It's the same trade, right? There's no reason to keep putting on more and more risk. Anyway, the point is Bitcoin's in good shape. We got a higher low, looking for that higher high. Now, we have this resistance area here between 52 and 55, and there could be a problem there, okay? So we have to see how that goes. It may call for an adjustment, but we can't overjudge it. We can't overanalyze it. The market needs to either prove itself, right, or it just keeps going, which would be ideal. And reaching that 57K peak is still within reason based on this formation. So most of the time, it's better to just let the market do its job and not interfere. I can't tell you how many times, you know, I think I know better than the market, or like, oh, I don't like the way this looks here, so I'm going to get out of something, and it would have went to my original target. Okay, that happens to all of us. So, you know, over time you learn that a lot of times you're better off, like if you have your targets predetermined and your stop predetermined, let the market just do its job. Okay, and a lot of times you'll reach that target 3 just because you didn't interfere with it. All right, anyway. So again, I see some questions here in the TradingView chat. I'm going to get to those. So let me just get through my analysis first, and then we'll get through all these questions. I got a lot of questions to go through. All right, so let's take a look. I looked at those coins. Now I want to take a look at the stock market real quick. Okay. Now look, this is the NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ 100 CFD. And this is not a good situation for stocks. All right. Now, we took out that support at that 12,600, 12,700 area. We tried to bounce on Friday, which was a good sign, and there were pin bars everywhere. There were like stocks like FUV and I mean, there were so many. CGC, even, I can't even think of some of them. Blink, I think, had a pin bar. They were just all over the place. You can't take them all, first of all. Second of all, I was expecting a gap higher earlier today at the open, and we didn't get that gap. So when I saw that, I was like, ooh, that's not good, okay? Because usually when the buying comes back, when that Monday comes along, you know, the buying comes back after a Friday, that Monday comes along, all those orders that are pent up in the market, they, you know, you'll see a gap usually, but we didn't see that, all right? It tried to go higher, and now it's closing. I mean, what, we close in 30 minutes? This thing looks bad, okay? So if we close like this, and we take out the low of today's candle, we take it out tomorrow, that would be a new sell signal. Now, here's my concern about this. We take a look at the, hold on. We take a look at the S&P 500, and earlier today, right, this is the CFD, by the way, it's similar to the futures prices, not exactly, but it's close enough. The chart will look very similar. We took out yesterday's high, which was a buy signal, but it's a conflict, okay? These markets, the S&P, the NASDAQ, they should be moving together, not one weaker than the other. So the S&P was stronger earlier today, but the NASDAQ was really lagging, like it was really painfully obvious. And now look, the S&P is starting to falter. All right, so that, when you see a mixed market like that, that's usually there's something wrong with the internals, right? There's something wrong. We don't know what it is. We're not going to resort to logic because logic doesn't work, as we know, in a random environment. So all I can tell you at that point, there's something wrong. This is why taking more trades, swing trades right now, or buying inventory, because everyone's buying the pullback, right? Oh, everyone's buying this and that, Tesla, blah, blah, blah. Not a good idea, because if this market may be setting up for a broad move lower, okay? And here, what we're looking at on the S&P is like this support right here, which is what? 36.64 area. That's the next support, and we're fooling around right now at 38.36. That's a good, what, 200 points? That's a lot for the S&P. That's a lot. So not a good time to be putting on aggressive longs and all that kind of stuff. You know, there were a lot of swing trade signals across the board, but we couldn't take them because of this situation. I mean, I wasn't going to send anything out. No way in this mess. Now, as far as shorts go, I'm interested. We had someone talking about the UVXY, someone who's in a UVXY position. And hey, you know what? I mean, if you're not in the option and you're in the outright stock, cool. You know, give it a chance because you don't have time value working against you. I had the options, I had the call options looking for a spike in the VIX index, and with the S&P wasting all this time, not a good idea, right? I had to get out of those, I had to take a loss. So the thing is, if this thing may turn into another sell signal tomorrow possibly, and if we get that, I may be interested in taking some other type of market short position. It could be maybe buying puts in a market stock like AMD, for example. You know, AMD is a semiconductor, as we all know. Ooh, I guess I guess I'm not buying the puts in that thing now. Party's over there. I missed it. Okay, but my point is, I would like to find a stock similar that will likely follow the market, that I don't have to worry about gap risk. Okay. Usually we do the Qs, right? Something like that, the Qs. But the Qs, the puts are going to be expensive, right? So I'm talking about options. If you're not familiar with options, then just don't worry about it. I mean, you could short the Qs outright. You can short a few shares of the Qs. You don't have to short 100 shares. The point is, if we're going to get that pullback, I mean, these things got a lot of room to pull back, and we should have gotten that bounce after Friday's candle. So the lack of bounce is a pretty significant sign of weakness, and we can't ignore it. All right, so I wanted to mention those two. Again, let me mention one more thing, and then I'm going to get to all your questions. Everyone, thank you for asking these questions, because I will answer them. Okay, so I'm going to get to the chat here in a moment. Let's take a look at the dollar franc. Now, look at this thing. This freaking thing looks like an altcoin. I thought I was looking at Link. I thought I was looking at Chain Link for a minute. I thought I was looking at, you know, something like AVAX or something. What is going on here? This thing never moves like this. So we took out two resistance levels, right? 92, 93, the 93 even area, took that out. And look, there's no hesitation. It's just going to close strong. That's what it looks like right now. That's a change, okay? That's definitely a change from what we have seen. recently, I mean, look at the general trend on the franc has been bearish. Now, what is the dollar franc? It's the dollar against the franc. So if I show you the dollar index real quick, right, it's going to look very similar. The dollar index. So that's obviously a basket, against the US dollar against the basket of currencies. So here we are. Looks just like the dollar franc. So that's why I can sort of use the dollar franc as a proxy. Now, here's the thing with the dollar index that we can't ignore. For one, weak markets don't take out resistance levels. They don't. And this one blew through it. And not only has it blown through it, but it's not looking back. Usually when you're going to get a fake out, you break that resistance and then you get a tail or something. You could see the fake out developing. This is not a fake out. So that's one concern, right? The other concern is the higher low. So this could be a trend change, right? Developing. We'll know when we get the next higher low. So we get a pullback and this thing can't go back below 92 or whatever, then we may have a trend change in the dollar. Now, some other clues as far as the trend change. Here is the 10-year note, okay, bonds. And lower price, since the price of the bond is inverse to the yield, right? If you don't know that, you can Google all that stuff. That means yields are going higher as price goes lower. Yields are interest rates. These are treasuries. So if interest rates are going higher, things that are anti-inflationary, like the stock market, like gold, are going to suffer. Look at gold. All right, we're getting beat up in our gold mining positions, but we're still going to hold on. If that dollar goes into a bullish trend, we will probably have an opportunity to get out at least for a smaller loss on the next dollar pullback. Okay, but the thing is, look, gold is not exactly bearish yet. All right, this is a pullback on gold, and it's in a broader bullish trend. So gold is a tough hold. This is a wave 4. It's very hard to hold this. Now, we don't have any CFD positions in this thing, but if you look at some mining stocks like WPM, it was earlier it was actually positive. It's minus 26 cents today. But that's another advantage to holding a mining stock is it doesn't follow gold one for one, right? There's other variables that affect the price of the stock. So that's why, if you want gold exposure, mining stocks are usually the best bet. All right, so those are the main things I wanted to cover. Let me see how I'm doing with time so I can answer everyone's questions. Okay, not too bad. All right, everyone, cool. So let's get to the chats here. And I appreciate everyone's questions. Okay, again, for the TradingView people, this is the first time I'm doing this on TradingView. Check out my article that I published on Saturday. And if you have any questions about it, please put it in the chat. Okay. So let's go back here. Okay, Sean, haven't been paying attention to the market today. What's been happening? Seemed like a do-nothing day. No, not exactly. Not exactly, Sean. So, I mean, as far as what I just mentioned, this S&P situation, it may seem like not a lot is going on, but it should be doing something that it's not doing. We should have had a rally today, okay? And it kind of gave up. So, not a good sign, okay? So the dollar index, I went over that. Can you help me understand the correlation between the dollar and the markets in the broad sense? So the dollar index is a reflection of interest rates. So stronger or higher interest rates will lead to a stronger dollar, okay? Stronger dollar means everything that's anti-inflationary, like I was saying, will suffer. The stock market is anti-inflationary. Gold, possibly Bitcoin, and all these things will feel the pain. Commodities are usually anti-inflationary. Stronger dollar, weaker commodities, right? So you're going to see it, you should see it across the board. Let's just take a look at like soybeans real quick. What is the soybean? Let me see. What is it? ZS, right? Let's just take a look real quick. I'm just curious. Can I get that here? ZS1 this. Okay. Look, see, now notice something, right? And again, I'm bringing this up not for trades. I'm bringing this up for the dollar relationship. Look at that bearish pin bar. This is, by the way, you see this setup right here on soybeans? This is what the dollar should be doing, all right, at the level that it's at. This is what I want to see on the US dollar. We don't see this. So as the dollar is strengthening, these things are going to pull back. And that right there, that bearish pin bar, in this failed high location is definitely an area. If I were open to shorting soybeans, I would definitely take that as a signal. Okay, So pound dollar, Ricky asks. Hey, Ricky. So GBP USD. All right, and TradingView people, just be patient. I'll get to your questions as well. I just have to do one at a time here. So let's take a look at the pound dollar. Pound, again, is going to be affected by the stronger US dollar. Now it's pulling back. The pound has been strong recently. All right. Now, there may be a dollar pullback, which will give you a bounce in the pound. What are the levels in the pound? Well, let's take a look. We have a level here, right? Support at 37.44. So basically 37.50. And you're getting an inside bar developing. Now, should you take the pound long if that thing develops and takes out the inside bar high? It's a function of the dollar. So if the dollar pulls back, you'll get your bounce. But the thing is, if the dollar has reversed its trend, you're probably not going to see a higher high in the pound. So I would be very conservative with a swing trade on the pound if you want to try to play that bounce, right? Middle of the range may be within reason for a swing trade. The $1.40 area would be within reason for a swing trade long. That's after it sets up and confirms, right? We don't have that yet. But this area would be a good place to be getting out and, you know, taking profits, because I would not be anticipating a higher high if that dollar has truly turned. All right. And again, if the dollar produces the higher low, that's the sign. Now, again, I don't go by absolutes. So that's why I won't say the dollar is reversed, even though there are some signs there that look pretty obvious, because things change. Just like everyone thought, you know, gold was going to go to 3,000 when it pushed 2,000 back in August, and it went to, what, 1689 or whatever it is. No one called 1689. So instead of thinking in absolutes or sticking to an absolute opinion, I'm flexible, right? And I adjust to new information. So I could be wrong. The market lets me know I'm wrong, and then I adjust to what the market wants. So that's the situation. I would be interested in an aggressive long on the pound. Like I said, if it sets up, I would just have conservative targets because of that US dollar concern. Okay, Sean, DXY, can you help me understand? Okay, explain that. Hey, Gabriel, good to see you. All right, let me switch over to TradingView real quick and see what's going on over here. Hey, okay, hold on. All right, cool. So let me just say hello. Rich, nice to see you. Shadow for World and G Man. I can't see the names. I'm sorry. I need glasses or something. I'll look a lot smarter with glasses. Okay, so Long Wicks, G Manuel says that's right. Okay, just catching up here. So someone's asking about here. Culture is asking about long Cardano. Let's take a look. All right, so ADA USDT. Now this one obviously has been on a lot of people's radars. We warned against it. We warned a lot against this thing because whenever there's a lot of hype in something, or whenever you get text messages like I was getting from people that I haven't heard from in years, and they don't ask me how I'm doing. Instead, they just say, "Hey, I heard Cardano is something. What do you think?" Yeah, nice to talk to you too. How you doing, right? Anyway, when you get things like that, that means Cardano is trouble. Anyway. That was actually at like 45 cents. So I told him it was a lottery ticket. Maybe he bought it. I don't know. Point is, it's pulling back now, right? So the question here is long. Well, here's the thing. The structure is bullish, all right? The structure is bullish. So you have that going for you. Current candle situation, no, there's no setup. You do have this little consolidation, and you do have a somewhat attractive location. What price is this over here? $1.14. Not a bad location, and you have a consolidation developing there. Okay, so that's all good, but you're lacking the setup. I mean, because look, it took out that previous day's high today, and now it's turning into a bearish pin bar. So seeing this now, I would hold off and wait for a better setup. The thing is, what's concerning about this is I'd be expecting this to be following Bitcoin, okay? Because none of these things, I shouldn't say none, most of these things do not trade on their own, meaning Bitcoin leads, right? And if Bitcoin doesn't lead, or Bitcoin does not agree, where is this thing gonna go if Bitcoin pulls back, right? That's called relative strength. So just going back to Bitcoin, look what Bitcoin's doing. Bitcoin is hanging in there. It's holding up. It's doing its job. Why is Cardano not? Okay? So that's relative weakness. I would hold off on that until at least it gives a bullish setup, at least, because it should be following along and it's not. So there may be a problem there. Remember, the thing with price action, people like to get all wrapped up in fundamentals. If you go on YouTube and you read all these people, these gurus on there talking about Cardano's going to go to $50 and blah, 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 blah. You know, they usually quote all these types of fundamentals and this developer's doing that and they're going to come out with this. All of that means nothing, especially on the short term, means nothing. Price action reflects what's really going on. So people that are in the know, people that really know what's going on and betting with their money, a lot of times price action will be a reflection of that if you know what to look for. This price action is not a reflection of strength at the moment. So that means no one's buying. All right, so you got to wait. I would wait on that one. Okay, so good question. Hamed, where to take profit? If you're referring to Bitcoin, I'm not sure if you're referring to Bitcoin. We have profit targets in the mid 50K area. I can't give specifics on that because we have people in that trade, but mid 50s to low 60s if Bitcoin could get up there. All right, that's where our swing trade targets are, in those areas. All right, so back to YouTube here. Let's see here. Mikhail, can you put some levels on HD in terms of inventory? Okay, so HD, Home Depot, and he's looking for inventory levels. First thing I want to do is I want to look at the trend. So we know that the trend is bullish. That's pretty clear. Higher lows, higher highs. We have a higher low that developed here at, what is that, 262? Around that level there? Let's see here. That is, yeah, around 260, the 260 area. Now, it took out that support, right, which is not really a good sign, and it's trying to reverse. So as far as inventory goes, you know, you're looking for attractive levels. Well, in that situation, you look for supports. So it broke one support. That would have been one place to put on a little inventory, right? Then other supports would be like these old resistances. You have another one right here where it fooled around, what, the other day, which is this area here, the 253 area. So you could look at probably the 250 area for something like that. Now, beyond that, which remember, if the market has a serious pullback, which it appears to be setting up to do, then you're going to have to look at some of these more extreme levels, which are kind of hard to believe that it would test right now, but they could be in play. And these are the levels. So you're looking at, what is that, 217? So you figure around 220, somewhere around there. And then you're looking at this level here, which is around 213. So you figure you have to round these to whole numbers because that's what typically what investors do. You'll have a whole bunch of buy orders sitting at like 215 or 210 or 200, right? It's the whole number, support and resistance. It's a phenomenon. It's not a rule or anything, but it's a phenomenon and you see it a lot. So that's why when I see these type of support levels, like if it's at like 223, I'll round it to 220. Because usually that's where all the orders are hiding. Okay, that's just human nature. It repeats itself all the time. It's not like I know anything special. So that's what I would be looking at with something like Home Depot. Now today's candle is pretty strong and it came off of that bullish pin bar from Friday. This is what I was expecting the market to do today, right? This is what I was expecting the S&P and NASDAQ to do, but we didn't get that. So that's why I would be very hesitant. Now, you know, maybe there's whatever, there's some news out on this thing, whatever reason this thing is closing strong today. I mean, we have about 15 minutes before the market closes and it's closing strong. Hey, that's a great thing. But if the market pulls back, it doesn't matter how strong it closed today. It's going to be affected. Anyway, so those are your levels to answer your question. Okay, let me jump back to the other one here. The best stock app in history. Okay, not sure what you're talking about there. What's your take on oil? Doormat asks. Oil. All right, that's a good question. So WTIUSD. Let's take a look. Now, this is the CFD. This thing, oil has been strong, right? Clearly, you have higher lows and higher highs all over the place, and now it's beginning to pull back. Now, one thing that I think kept the stock market going, because the S&P has a lot of energy stocks or oil-related stocks in it, right? So oil was appreciating, possibly holding the market up when nothing else was. And now oil is beginning to turn back. With a strong dollar, theoretically, oil should also pull back, because if you're buying oil in dollars, you'll be able to buy more barrels with a stronger dollar, right? And if you have a weaker dollar, then you can't afford as many barrels. You understand that? So that's why commodities have an inverse relationship with the dollar. Dollar goes higher, these things should go lower. So again, we have this weakness developing. Now, is this going to change the trend? At this point, we can't call this a trend change. It's just weakness. So at this point, if a dollar aside, if we just put the dollar aside, I'd be looking for a pullback to go long, right? Unless it starts breaking these supports. Right now, the support you're looking at is 59.25. So if 59.25 is taken out, then this thing may be changing. And I would expect something like that in a dollar strong environment. If the dollar is just getting everyone all excited and then over the next week it just gives it all back and whatever, and and this thing pulls back and holds that 52 area, then oil will probably be along, okay? Especially like oil stocks are good to play with this too. Look at VLO, still pushing highs today. Ridiculous. MPC on its highs. So you can't buy the oil stocks now. The risk is too high, especially with oil peaking like that, okay? So that's what I think of oil. We haven't had any oil trades in a while. We've only had inventory in some of these oil stocks, and we bought it. I mean, Andrew mentioned it a long time ago. He was buying Marathon Petroleum when everyone hated that stock. And as you could see, Marathon was on its highs. Anyway, all right, cool. So let me jump back to the other one here. Let me see what other questions I got. I got a lot of questions, so please be patient with me. Okay, so so that was Home Depot. Hey, Ilya, good to see you. HS, good to see you. All right, I'm just catching up here. MOBLI, Berkeley Lights. So this is one of those gene editing stocks, I believe. I would stay away from it. Here's why. So you had a support here at this 56 area. See that? I had a line drawn there. And this thing is just getting hammered. All right, we had a lower high in place, which was a warning on this thing. And look how it's closing today, right? On the low, right? The low is 47.44. It's at 47.79 right now. And this thing is about to push yesterday's low. Not good, okay? So as far as the location, sure, it's attractive, if you want to pick up some, but the trend, this thing is just not in good shape. And with the market in a vulnerable position, this thing is acting like it wants to outperform the weakness, meaning if the S&P pulls back hard, this thing is going to pull back faster, right? So I would hold off on this until some stability shows up at least. Also, keep an eye on some of the other stocks in the sector, okay? I believe ILMN is one of the other ones in the same sector. It's a good idea to watch what they're doing, but I wouldn't touch this thing looking like that. All right, so thanks for bringing that one up. Hey, Kamal, good to see you. Kamal. MZ, double bottom. Okay, this is from before. All right, people answering my question. Cool. All right, hey, travel. Okay, Anthony. Hey, Anthony. Should I hold my cash allocated for rare opportunities in a USD ETF? I'm in Aussie. I would hedge my gold miners. Okay, so let me see if I can understand your question, Anthony. Should I hold my cash allocated for rare opportunities in a USD ETF? Well, do you mean buying the dollar? Maybe you can clarify that question. I'm not sure how to answer that question. So maybe you can clarify the question. Oh, and by the way, if you're in the channel here, you press the like button. Please press the like button. Same with the TradingView channel. I don't even know if there's a like button in the TradingView channel, but if there is, press it if you like the video. Okay, cool. So let me see. Gabriel, can you put some levels on Flow USD? All right, let's see. I'll do Flow, and then I'm going to jump back to the other chat here. So Flow USD, this is the one that I spent 3 hours on the wrong chart the other day. And people are like, no, it's USD. And I'm sitting there talking about a stock that no one cares about. All right, so this is on Huobi. All right, which is fine. I mean, let me just check some other exchanges here. You have Hitbit, Huobi, and it's pretty much the same. Okay, so here, let me just go back to that one. Is there a USDT, or it's the same thing? All right, Huobi. All right, so here's the thing with this, pulling back. Now these things that were acting relatively strong before should not be pulling back with Bitcoin going higher. That's not a good sign. So I would let it, first of all, I would let it find stability. Your next support, right, if it takes out this low right here, which it's trying to do, what is that low? $30. If it takes that out, then you're looking at this level here, which is around $25 right here. So that would be a more ideal level for a swing trade, but who knows? It may find support at this $30 level and give you a setup. So in that case, I'd be open to it as long as Bitcoin continues higher. But why is this thing hesitating while Bitcoin's going higher? That's a concern. What if Bitcoin pulls back? What if Bitcoin fakes out at 53K and this thing's looking like this? I'd expect this thing to be at 25 real fast, right? If it's acting relatively weak. Now, that relationship that I keep mentioning, it's not like 100% on all the stocks and all the coins that we look at relative to Bitcoin, but a lot of times it's the case, okay? So that's what I go by. Sometimes it's not the most accurate, but you know, whatever. I'm only looking at the average. Now, so that's Flow USD. Flow USDT. I'd wait for the pullback. You have no setup there, but you do have a potential level. All right, let me see what else we got here. All right, Mikhail, thank you very much. Okay, cool. MZ, IBBOC stocks for a swing trade. Okay, and Anthony. All right, so I'll get to your questions back in a moment. Let me go back to the other chat here. I appreciate everyone's questions, and I appreciate your patience too. How is that the dollar is getting stronger as it should be the opposite because of inflation? Okay, so Philip, really good question. What you're referring to there, and I talk about this in the chat all the time, you're referring to logic, okay? Yeah, we have this inflationary situation here in the country. We keep sending out stimulus checks and all this other nonsense, right? We keep doing it. So logic would say, well, with all this money coming into the market, how could the dollar be going higher? Should the dollar be going lower? Well, yeah, but markets don't work on logic. A market is an abstract derivative, if you think about it, right? When we see the price of something, we see it, we see the price with our eyes, but we don't know actually how that price is being derived. We can't actually see all the participants placing their orders, whether it's a limit order or a market order. We can't see any of that, right? So we don't know what the smart money knows or why they are acting the way they're acting. So we cannot apply logic to markets like this. That's why, while it doesn't make sense for a dollar to be strong in a potentially inflationary environment, the thing is, it is. And part of the reason is the bond market, right? Let me just go back to that bond market real quick. US 10, right, with a 10-year note. The bond market is one way that the Fed can control interest rates without saying anything. The Fed can actually go into the market and place trades, right? They can actually move the market by trading bonds. And sure, that's public information somewhere, but they don't have to make a big deal out of it. They're not going to come out, Powell's not going to come out and be like, I'm going to buy $1 billion worth of bonds or sell them or whatever, right? He's not going to come out and say that. So the thing is, if you look at the bond price and it's on its lows, lower bond prices mean higher yields. Higher yields mean stronger dollar. And that's a way for them to put a curb on inflation without saying anything. Now, of course, his other tool is he comes out on an FOMC meeting and says, we're raising interest rates, right? But again, he can do it without saying anything. So that's why you can't go by what they say. You can't go by logic. You have to follow the money. And right now, that's what the bonds are doing. So if bonds are doing that, yields are going higher, dollar's going up. That's it. I don't question it. You know, I just look at the relationships against other things and I adjust. So good question. Okay, Zero. Regarding, okay, TradingView just published BTC index, BTC USD. How can this best be used? BTCD, used to have the most complete picture of Bitcoin, but could only go as low as daily charts, okay? Bitcoin, BTC USD index can drill into smaller time frames. Would it make more sense to do technical analysis purely on this new index? Okay, so that's an interesting question, Zero. I'm not familiar with that index, but if it's going to be, I mean, look, let's pull it up. Let's see if I could pull that up. I should be able to, right? If it's on TradingView. Let's see here. Index. This must be it here. Bitcoin USD index. Is this what you're referring to? Is this what you're referring to? So if this is it, let me see. I have to catch up on this chat. Oh, I'm way behind on this chat. Jeez. All right. Please be patient. All right. So if this is the case, BTC USD, right, against the dollar, this index, it's the same chart pretty much as Bitcoin. And he mentions that, okay, so you can get into smaller time frames. Smaller time frames are only going to be beneficial to you if you are day trading. If you're not day trading, they're only going to confuse you. Okay, so like for example, our swing trades, we only look at the daily time frame, and inventory or position trades, or more like investing, we only look at daily or possibly weekly charts. We don't look at anything smaller. You know, there are some situations where we'll look at an 8-hour chart possibly, but an 8-hour chart is it's 1/3 of a daily chart, so it's almost the same. It's just a little more detail. Looking at 1-hour charts and 5-minute charts, it's only confusion, okay? Unless you're a day trader and you know exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so that's what I have to say about that. Good question. And thanks for bringing up that index. Okay, cool. Hey, Going Dutch. Hey, good to see you. Hey, again, people in TradingView, if you read my article and you have a question that you'd like to ask me, sometimes people put it in the comment section and it's hard for me to answer them. I apologize. Please put the questions here in the chat so I can answer them in real time. All right, back to the other one here. Anthony, okay. All right, so I'm going back to Anthony's question. Actually, no, hold on. MZ, IBB and OC stocks for swing trades. All right, IBB, let's take a look. All right, so IBB is a NASDAQ Biotechnology Trust. All right, cool. So obviously it's an ETF for biotechs. And you're thinking about a swing trade. All right, well, so let's look at the broader trend. It has been bullish, right? Okay, that's cool. Now, we took out some supports though. So we have to keep this in mind. Support taken out. Now we have this other support right here, which is what, 149, 150 area, and it's fooling around there. So not a bad location, right? It is a support in a broader bullish trend. We have a pin bar that developed on Friday, so that's all good, all right? Today's candle though, a little problematic. So we actually took out the pin bar high and now we gave it back. Here's the thing. When a buy signal develops and it becomes active, right, like this pin bar situation, momentum, because again, we're playing momentum, right? That's primarily what I am. I am a momentum trader. And that allows me to navigate markets and time markets without opinions, because I'm only looking for buying and selling to continue or not. When you have these situations, right, where it takes out this pin bar high, it should keep going. Okay, that's momentum. It did not keep going. So that's a lack of momentum. That's not good, right? So as far as a swing trade long, no way. I wouldn't touch it until it proves itself. So maybe tomorrow or something, we get an inside bar and we take out the high of that. Okay, I'd be open to it at that point, but at this moment, no way. Okay, because if we take out this low tomorrow, this current candle low, which is going to close here in a couple of minutes, we take out that low tomorrow, that's a sell signal, especially after a pin bar like this. Why is that a sell signal? Because you have to understand what went on in this pin bar. Let me explain that real quick, and I want to make it big so people can understand. You have to understand what took place in this bullish pin bar. A lot of people got long thinking they bought the bottom. Now all those people are long, and then this thing sold off, which means a lot of people are long and they're wrong, right? So now all these people are going to have to bang out. And if this thing takes out the low, you're going to have more shorts enter, and you're going to have all these longs have to either, they're going to bang out as a result of fear, they're going to bang out as a result of a margin call, whatever it is, and it's going to create more selling momentum. So I would stay away from that for now. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, let's see, OC. What's OC? Let's take a look. Owens Corning. Okay, now that's an interesting situation right there. Let's first begin with the trend. And we have this right here, higher low. Well, we have a consolidation, failed low, double bottom type of formation. I know that's a mouthful, but basically you have a higher low in a broader bullish trend. What is that price? $76, around $76, $77 area. Okay, now this thing's in a consolidation, pretty clear, right? You have the lower high, pulled back to the same support area, and it's sort of a triangle. All right, that's cool. That formation is a trend continuation pattern. It's a larger one. At this moment, though, as far as a swing trade, I wouldn't chase this. Why? Because you're in the middle of the range, right? That's a 50-50 area. This thing can turn on you very easily, so I wouldn't touch it in the middle of the range. So I would wait either for another test of the low, the range low, and a signal off the range low, which is around the, again, the mid 70s, so maybe 76, maybe high 75s, something like that. You get a buy signal in there. That would make more sense in terms of reward risk, okay? Or you get like some sort of pullback halfway there with a, a higher low developing. Now, Owens Corning, I don't know what they do. I don't know how sensitive they are to the market. Keep in mind, sometimes if it's not a highly correlated stock, you may have a day where it's strong for some reason. I mean, this is a decent close for it. But if there's a broad pullback, nothing really escapes the broad pullback, right? So you have to keep that in mind. The other area to consider buying something like this is the breakout, all right, which would be up here at 86. You know how I feel about those, right? I'm not a big fan of those type of breakouts, but that would be the other potential area if you're nimble and you're willing to take the risk, okay? So I'm more conservative. I prefer the pullback than buying those breakouts. In a very strong market, like we saw back in December, back in January, taking these type of breakouts can make sense sometimes, all right? A lot of it depends on the context. Okay, cool, so great question. All right, let me go back to the other one here. Let's see what we got. Again, I appreciate everyone's questions. I'm just trying to catch up on these chats. All right, hey, Mary Mew. Sorry if I don't get your names right. For Bitcoin, is it possible to be on a wave 5 on a daily chart? Now that's a good question about Bitcoin. I've talked about wave 5 and wave 4 for a long time. All right, here's what I feel about the wave count. Or I shouldn't say feel, because I don't really feel. It's just what I see, right? And it's objective. It's as objective as possible. Elliott wave can be very subjective, as we know. So I'm looking at certain things. Now, this peak right here, I was able to count 5 waves inside of that peak to 57K. Those 5 waves are a broad wave 5 of a sub-wave 5 of a broad wave 3, which began here at the March low, right? So I can count a broad set of 5 waves, wave 5 completing at 57K. If that's the case, right, then we're most likely in a broader wave 4. But I don't have evidence of that yet. I don't have confirmation. Now, it's possible that this wave 5 that peaked at 57K, it's possible that it extends, right? And we get some kind of wave 4 formation in here, and then we go to like 66K or whatever. That's possible, all right? Because we haven't taken out the broad support, the trend support, which is 37K. So as long as we're above 37K, to answer your question, it's possible that we are still in that broad wave 5, and this is just the wave 4 of it. Elliott wave requires adjustments, okay? So we have to see. Now, if this thing fails somewhere between here and 57K, then that's going to be a hint that we are in the broader wave 4, but not confirmation. Like I said, confirmation, we need to take out that support. And keep that in mind. Wave 4s are very difficult to trade, as you know. I'm going to bring up the gold chart like I always do. This is what a wave 4 looks like, a broad wave 4 from the August peak, right? So Bitcoin may do something like that. I don't know if it'll go on for 6 months or 9 months. I can tell you one thing. When Bitcoin went to 20K or whatever the first time, and it pulled back to 3K, that process took 2 years about. Okay, so it can go into one of those broad consolidations again. It's pretty normal. All right, so something to keep in mind. Okay, cool. So good question. Let's move back to the other one here and answer. I got some more questions. Okay, then just give me a second. So just catching up. MSFT. Okay, no. So Anthony's question. Longing the U.S. dollar. So you're looking to have some capital aside to buy the U.S. dollar against something, whether it's buying the dollar index. Or maybe, like, let's just bring up, since you're Aussie, UNIUSD. Is that the right symbol, or is it AUD? AUD. As you can see, I haven't put any trades in this one in a while. So if you're interested in taking the inverse of this, would be like long the dollar, short the Aussie. Yeah, and something like that, that would make sense. I mean, actually, let's take a look at that. USD, AUD, right? You'd probably be looking at something like this, which is the inverse. So using the dollar index as your guide, you'd be looking for a pullback. I mean, buying it here wouldn't be a good idea because you're taking a lot of risk. You're going right into this resistance, which is a support, when you look at the inverse. So I would be looking for a pullback. Somewhere, ideal would be in the middle of the range, somewhere in this situation, Okay, maybe you go slightly lower and you test this low. Those would be ideal prices for a long dollar situation, especially against something like the Aussie. All right, so good question there. And yeah, I would be open to that for swing trades. As far as inventory and investing, I'm not a big fan of putting money to work for long periods in these type of instruments. For one, a lot of times you're paying a swap or like an interest on these positions, and the brokers usually, or the dealers, they don't make them very favorable, even if it's supposed to be in your favor. So these are really more oriented for short-term strategies, in my opinion. If I'm going to invest money as far as inventory, I want something that's going to pay me to hold on to it, okay, and something that produces something of value, real value, right? And there's lots of stocks that fit that criteria. All right, so anyway, thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, cool. So I see Microsoft from Macau. Microsoft, let's take a look. Now, remember, Microsoft is a market stock. So wherever the NASDAQ goes, right, Microsoft is pretty much going to look very similar. Now, look at Microsoft. It broke out of this resistance, what, 230, the 230 area, okay, back there. It was back in January, broke out, and now it's retesting it. Now, as far as inventory goes, or, you know, investing, sure, this is not a bad area to take a small bite. Keep in mind, if the NASDAQ sells off dramatically and the S&P sell off, this thing is not going to hold up. It's going to sell off too. Okay, it's a market stock. So you're looking at supports like 210 possibly. You're looking at supports that go all the way back to, what is that, 200? Those would be very attractive areas for Microsoft. Now, it's hard to believe that we'll pull back that far, but in a very dramatic pullback, in a rising rate environment, it can do it. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. A lot of people, they see these pullbacks, and the common mistake is they get too big too early. So they'll buy, you know, they had $10,000 to invest, and they pile in, I bought the bottom, I bought the support, and then it pulls back another $20. And I can't believe Microsoft is pulling back. I thought it was a good stock. It is a good stock, but it follows the market. All right, so just something to keep in mind. So those would be the longer term support levels. As far as a swing trade, too slow. I don't like Microsoft usually. I mean, it's moving pretty decently for a month. This is pretty good for 2 months. It's a pretty good move for Microsoft, but there's so many better stocks for swing trades. All right, so anyway, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, let me switch to the other chat. Alternate here. 2 chats. All right. All right, so I answered the Bitcoin wave question. Okay, WJ, any thoughts on Ocean? I'm guessing that's a coin. All right, let's see. I'm just curious. Okay, I'm going to guess that's a coin. If I'm wrong, just let me know in the chat, and I'll just keep checking the bottom of the chat. But Ocean. Okay, so I'm putting in Ocean USD. And any thoughts? Okay, so here's the thing. This looks like the way Link used to look. This looks like all those, right? This looks like all the hype stocks. This is when you see these vertical moves like this, right? Let me kind of highlight that vertical move. When you see stuff like this, that's the herd mentality in motion. Worst time to buy these things, okay? The worst time to buy. You can gamble, you can hope it goes higher, but a lot of times you're buying near the top because that's when it looks its best, and then you get caught. And then you go into hope mode, and you're like, oh, yeah, it'll come back. It's strong. Everyone's buying it. All my friends are buying it. You know, there's a pumper room, and they're all buying it. So, yeah, they told me it'll go higher. And meanwhile, it goes back to something like this, you know, back to $1, what is that, $1.16, something like that. I mean, that's where your support is. Let's see, right around this area here. I'm sorry, probably $1.20 would make more sense. Let's see here. Yeah, around a dollar. Am I looking at the right numbers? Yeah, around $1.20. So this thing right now is at $1.41. It can pull back. That's the first area I'd be looking for support. Now, when something starts to move like this, it could be a good swing trade candidate if the momentum is going to continue. Just like Uniswap, just like Link, you know, they started moving. That's why I was willing to call them as trades. But a lot of these, right, like BAT, for example, these are just not very good swing trade candidates. You know, you get your one move, and then it spends the rest of the time doing nothing, right? So I'm not very, very interested as far as swing trades go. So as far as that's the level I'll be looking for. If it pulls back lower and you believe in the project or whatever it is that they're doing or saying, you know, that's where you can buy some inventory, but just keep something in mind with these altcoins. You know, and I'm not a big proponent of investing in a lot of them because a lot of them are hype. Some of them are good, but the thing is, you don't know which ones are going to come out. Something can change along the way. You don't know how competition is going to be in the future, right? Someone may dominate this and then their model becomes obsolete or whatever. Just like the dot-coms 20 years ago, everyone had a dot-com. Today, there's only a couple of dot-coms. No one knew Amazon was going to be at $3,000 a share back in the year 2002 when it was at $5. Okay, it went from $300 to $5 and everyone thought it was garbage, just like all the other dot-coms. And here we are today. So back then they used to say, Amazon doesn't make any money. How can it be a good stock? They were saying that all the way up until like 2010. Amazon doesn't make any money. Well, obviously Amazon does something, right? Because they're at $3,000. So the point is, you don't know which one of these are going to be those long-term winners. So if you're going to invest, treat it like a lottery ticket and, you know, buy something you can afford to lose, $100 worth, a couple $100 worth, and hope for the best. Charts aren't going to be the most useful for these situations, especially when the party is over. The party obviously isn't over yet, okay? But when it's over, it's going to be miserable, all right? I'm just telling you, these altcoins were garbage for like 2 years. They went absolutely nowhere. And, you know, there was plenty of opportunities in other things like stocks during that time. It's just something to keep in mind, okay? Okay, cool. So that's why, by the way, when I say stuff like that, that's why I don't get invited to any of these, what do you call it? These conventions or these gatherings that they have about altcoins. They don't want me saying stuff like that. All right, anyway, going Dutch. I'm long on Stellar Lumens with target at 76 cents, but I admit the chart looks a bit weak. Who knows though? It looks better in okay, Stellar Lumens, XLM BTC. All right, now here's the thing. I've been watching Stellar, right? XLM, and look at it USD. This thing should have done better with the Bitcoin situation. But again, this is like one of these gambling stocks. Now, sorry, not stock, altcoin. You have this consolidation developing in the broader uptrend. I wouldn't swing trade this, but if this thing can have another run higher, it's within reason to expect a higher high against the US dollar. Now, in terms of Bitcoin, BTC, I mean, the thing is, Bitcoin needs to appreciate slower than this thing appreciates. Otherwise, you're not going to get back up to these prices. That's why I don't like these cross pairs. Okay. In fact, I would be selling if I could, right? I would sell or whatever. I'd exit, take profits if you're in from a good price at those levels if it can retest those levels. Because as you can see, the momentum or the rate of change between the two pairs doesn't go beyond this point for now, right? Technical analysis is not going to be very helpful in these situations. That's why I'd rather go against the dollar, because the dollar is stable, theoretically speaking. Okay, I should say relatively or proportionally speaking, the dollar moves fractions of a penny, you know, relative to these coins. So the dollar, you can say, is stable compared to something like Bitcoin. All right, so thanks for bringing that one up. All right, so I'm going to catch up on that chat. Let me go back to the other one here. And how am I doing with time? Oh man, okay, so I'm about an hour into this. For those of you on TradingView, I only do this for about an hour, right? So I'm going to see if I could do this more frequently on TradingView. So I'll cut it off sometime soon, but I'm going to see if I can get to as many questions as I can. Again, if you have questions from my article, I haven't seen any yet, please ask. All right, let's see here. Zalmosix tube. What are some good levels to buy on gold? All right, good question. So gold has gotten beaten up. At this point, the levels to buy are going to be in the mid-16s. You're looking at this, right? Actually, it's there right now. 1681 is one level to consider, right? But here's the thing. If you're looking at a swing trade, there's no signal right now. So you're buying right into bearish momentum, and this thing can go lower. We've had a position in gold. We've been buying inventory on gold stocks, and we've taken some pain, you know, but we're not going to get out. A lot of people are going to say gold is in a bearish trend, but it's not in a bearish trend. As we know, this trend is bullish, right? When we look back, that's a bullish trend, and we're at the lows of a nasty wave 4, which is a great buying opportunity, but it's tough. It's very tough to hold. You have to be very patient with it, and you can't get too big. So to answer your question, we are at one attractive support for gold. The next attractive support after this level would be around here, which is, what is that? 15, is that 15? I think it is. Let me see. Yeah, 15, like basically somewhere between 1580 and 1600, around there. Can it get there? It's possible. All right, so just something to keep in mind. At this moment, there's, like I said, there's no reason to buy. So if you're buying gold mining stocks, okay, cool. You know, take a small bite if you don't have any. Now, I'm all in, like on wheat and precious metals, and we have people that have been taking small bites because we've been calling this, you know, since 1800, in the mid 1800s, and here we are fooling around the high 1600s. I did warn people. I said it could do it, and I said, you know, maybe protect yourself by lightening up if it breaks 1740, or buy some puts or do something to protect yourself. So, like I said, in this situation, if you don't have any, you're looking for exposure, okay, fine. Keep in mind it can go into that 1600 area or to the high 1500s at this rate of momentum. It needs to change, okay? If it changes, I'd be more comfortable, you know, with putting on more. We're almost in the extreme situation. I said that if it goes to 1650, I'd be willing to put a little extra on, you know, because it's an extreme situation. We're almost there. All right, let me see what else we got here. Okay, so I have another question on DBI. Okay, hello, 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 hello. All right. DBI. Now, is DBI, what is DBI? He's saying designer brands. Okay, so I'm guessing that's a stock. And TradingView doesn't want to show that to me. Why not? What's wrong with DBI? Let me try it again. DBI. Okay, here it is on the New York Stock Exchange. Oh, all right, so nice trend. Let's take a look at the trend. Higher lows, higher highs. All right, cool. Very strong close today. What's their story? Maybe it's earnings or something. I don't know. I don't care. We're in a vulnerable location. I wouldn't be buying this thing now. You're buying right into a resistance area. Look at all this resistance. I mean, the market's closed. You have all this resistance that dates back a year. Okay, you're buying right into that if you buy this now. So I wouldn't buy it now. Nice breakout, but it's a vulnerable area. So if you're in it, good place to unload. Take something off the table. I would say that. If you're not in it and you're interested in buying it, for a swing trade, I would wait for a pullback. You're looking at, what are these prices here? Around $12. All right, this thing closed at $14.61. So you're looking at like $12, that area, possibly slightly lower, possibly for a potential swing trade. As far as inventory goes, same thing. I mean, when it comes to inventory, really you're looking for lower, much lower levels if that opportunity comes about. So there's no way to know if it will. You do have a gap here, which possibly can get filled. You know, gaps tend to act as support or resistance levels. That's around the $10 area, 10.5, 10.25. So those would be attractive locations for inventory. And like I said, the swing trade would be around $12. You can't touch this right now. People chase this, they get caught at the top. It may go higher, but I don't like the risk. The reward risk doesn't make sense. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, catching up on the other chat here. Let's see. How are you? Please EOS check. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me go back up here. I missed a few questions. If I missed a question, just re-ask it. Okay, so I got stellar lumens. Okay, is it possible to be on wave? Okay, I answered that. Okay, perks, I answered that. Thoughts on RSR? I'm guessing RSR is a coin. Let's see, RSR. Again, if you want a coin, yeah, I'm guessing it's a coin. If you want a coin, just put USD after it so I know. Otherwise, I may look at a stock that no one wants to see, and I'll talk about it for like 3 hours. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but I've done it, not for 3 hours. All right, so RSR, same situation. It's trying to break out. You have a resistance here at basically the high 7 cent or 0.78 area. I wouldn't touch this here because it may break out, it may go higher, but what if it fails? You have a potential double top. You're buying right into the resistance. Now, with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, I would expect the breakout to have some follow through, right? But like I said, if you're wrong and it fakes out, where do you get out of this thing as a swing trade? Where's Where do you measure your risk from? You're looking at this 5 cent area. So that may not make sense, relatively speaking. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with this one, but it's a nice strong chart in general. If you're in some, this would be a good place to reduce some risk. Okay, lock in some profits and then watch the breakout, see if it goes. That's the position you really want to be in. You want to be in before the breakout at a good price, okay, which would have been around this old resistance, new support, around this 4.5 cent area, right in there, right? If you had bought that, of course we could see this after the fact, but there are many times when we see these type of situations before the fact, and we manage to call these type of trades. Now, if you're in it, you should be locking in profit. If you're not in it, it's aggressive. It'd be an aggressive long. You're going to have to take more risk, or you need to be nimble if you're looking at a swing trade to get out if it fails. Okay, otherwise there's nothing to do here but wait for a pullback. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. I have to try to move a little quicker here so that I can try to answer everyone's questions. Okay, so that was RSR. All right, so let me see what else we have here. Do you incorporate order flow into Roger? So order flow into my technical analysis. Yes, I do, but not like in the standard way. Like I don't pull up like a time and sales chart and be like, oh, look at that order. Oh, look at that sell order. It was gigantic. I don't do that, okay? I make certain assumptions that are occurring in the order flow based on patterns that I see through price. So if you want to call price action, another form of order flow without seeing the orders, I guess the answer would be yes. Okay, but I do refer to order flow a lot, but I'm not actually looking at orders. Okay, on some of these platforms like Binance and Coinbase Pro and all that stuff, you can actually see the book, the order book, and people think that stuff actually means something. It doesn't. It's not helpful at all. Okay, it just creates confusion and stimulates you to trade because you think you see things. Okay, good question. Ox. Is Bitcoin situation clear? Do you agree with major correction, 39K in the short term? Do you have a piece of advice for such a day? Okay, so Ox, I answered the question earlier about Bitcoin. I mean, we're long Bitcoin, okay? And we got long a couple of altcoins as a result of the Bitcoin signal. There's a long signal in Bitcoin. So as far as pulling back to 39K, we're not going that way now, all right? Can we pull back to that at some point? It's possible. But at this moment, there's no bearish signal. There's no sell signal. There's nothing. We have a buy signal, and it's trying to hold and push higher as we come near the closing time here, in a few hours for Bitcoin. We're going into this resistance. So I would not be anticipating 39K unless we get a sell signal, all right, like a pin bar or something in that minor resistance zone, which is this zone right here. All right, so thanks. Good question. And do you have a piece of advice for such days? As far as what? Such days meaning today, or such days as when it pulls back hard? If it pulls back hard, it all comes back to the type of strategy, your strategy that you're employing. Is it a investing type strategy, like position trade, like inventory, or is it a swing trade, which has specific stop targets and very specific entry and exit rules? One is short-term oriented, one is long-term oriented. That's going to determine your decision-making process from there. Okay, so thanks for asking. Sajad, please EOS. Okay, let me take a look at EOS. I'm going to wrap this up soon. I got so many questions here. I appreciate everyone's questions. EOS against the dollar on Bitfinex. Okay, I don't like this chart. Here's why. The broader trend has been bullish, all right, like many of these altcoins. All right, that's cool. You have a lower high that established itself right here. It pulled back. Okay, fine. It pulled back to a support. That's what you want to see, something that's strong. Here, let me highlight the support. Old resistance, right? Pulled back there. That's good, right? You want to see those things. But here's where I stop liking it. So you have this little structure right here. Bitcoin, because I'm assuming that these things follow Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the leader. These things don't trade on their own. Most of them don't. So Bitcoin is the leader, right? So I use that to gauge relative strength. This thing is consolidating, right? And it's got this little formation here while Bitcoin is working its way back toward its high. I would think that this thing should be doing better. Okay, so I don't like this steep pullback relative to where Bitcoin is. I don't like this. And this thing can easily turn into a lower high. So from my perspective, it looks like it's relatively weak. I mean, you have a resistance right there. And if it can't take that out, well, especially if Bitcoin starts pushing a new high, if Bitcoin tests 57K, this thing should be up here, not fooling around here. If it's fooling around here as Bitcoin goes higher, it's relatively weak. So I wouldn't enter into a new trade at all. If you're in it, all you can do here is hope for the best and hope that it catches up. Maybe some news will come out. I mean, a lot of these things, that's what happens with these. Okay, but at the moment, it's acting relatively weak, and I don't like it. Let's compare to something like Litecoin, right? Litecoin is acting similar. Look at that. This Litecoin should be doing better than this, right? So that's a red flag. We should be seeing these things as Bitcoin works its way higher. We should see these things higher. I mean, Bitcoin looks pretty decent here. I don't see a red candle. We have the higher low in place, and it's going for this minor resistance. So I would be expecting better performance. Now, it doesn't mean they won't catch up, but I'm just saying based on what I see right now, I'm gauging that relative weakness. So that's how I judge that EOS. So thank you for bringing that one up. Thought on Ethereum. Okay, let's take a look. Ethereum. And I'm going to get back to the other chat here, you guys. Euro pound. Wait, hold on. Gabriel, I see. Oh, wait. Michael. OZSC. Okay, I'm going to get to that. And I have IMPUY. I'm going to get to that too, Caleb. No problem. All right, so first let's take a look at Ethereum. See, now look, Ethereum seems to be doing its job, right? Bitcoin is working its way. This is what I want to see from a altcoin. This. It's not making new highs yet, but it's doing its job. This is where it should be. It's not lagging like Litecoin. It's not lagging like EOS, right? Now, should we buy this now? No, I wouldn't buy this now. We missed our opportunity to buy it. The buying opportunity was when Bitcoin gave its buy signals, right? And I sent out Uniswap and I sent out Link. That was the time to buy Ethereum, not now. Now you're chasing. The point is, if you're in it, let it do its job, okay? Maybe even if you're in from a good price as a swing trade, maybe even lock in a little profit here. But it's doing its job. Now he says he's asking about the summertime. So I'm not sure what you mean by that. But if we go back to August, I mean, I'm not sure what you want to see from this time here. That's just, it wasn't doing that great back then. You know, so I'm not sure what the question is there. Maybe you can be a little more clear. All right. Tron, how do you think Bitcoin will drop in the next bear market? Well, I don't know. We're not in the bear market yet. We're nowhere near it. First, before we can even think about a bearish environment, I'm not even going to call it a bear market because the next wave I'm expecting on Bitcoin is wave 4, a broad wave 4, which we might be in the early part of. We need to take out 37K. Before we even think about that, we need to take out 37K. If we don't take out 37K, we're not in any type of bear market at all, okay? 37K is trend support, needs to hold that. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't be getting overly bearish. There's no reason to just yet, although we might be in the broader consolidation. Many people are going to mistake that wave 4 as a bear market, but it's not. Just like gold. Gold is not a bear market. Not yet, anyway. As ugly as it looks. People are going to make that mistake, especially if you're looking at short-term charts. Okay, let's get back here to IMPUY. Caleb, what is that? IMPUY. That must be one of these OTC stocks. Impala Platinum. All right. Is that something like the car? Let's see here. So the trend is clearly bullish. I see higher lows all over the place. Let's look at support and resistance levels. So I see some support right here. You're looking at 16.5, 15 area. Those are your supports. And then you have this little situation up in here. Now, do we have any price history? No, these look like all-time highs. All right. So here's the thing with something like this. It's attempting to break out, which that would be a very aggressive trade, a swing trade. You'd put your stop somewhere around there and hope that it can justify your reward risk because that's all you really have there. There's no historical price action. So you would have to use projections to see what potential targets it can reach proportionally. But I don't like these type of breakouts, okay? Especially in a situation where the market is in a vulnerable location because a lot of these stocks cannot escape a broad sell-off. I would wait for a pullback, all right? This thing may give you a failed breakout. I'd wait for the pullback. You're looking at this area here, the $16 area, maybe $16.20, somewhere around there. This thing's at $18.20. So there's plenty of room for this thing to pull back and fool around and give you a consolidation. Kind of like back here, kind of like this situation. I mean, look at this pullback, right? It tried to break out, failed, gave you consolidation, gave you a nice location to get long near that range low, and gave you a little run there. So something like that would probably make more sense. I don't like the way it looks right now. So thanks for bringing that one up. OZSC. Let's take a look. All right, so OZOP, it's an energy stock. Nice run here, right? Bullish, I like that. Man, can I just get a box working over here? All right, so nice run there. Corrected a lot of that. How much is this thing? It's 17 cents. All right, so at this point, for one, when they're this cheap, I don't like swing trades on these. A lot of times, they're very noisy. You have a lot of small day traders in these things, and they can be very difficult as far as swing trades go, especially if they're all piling in, and it's a mess on both sides. So right now, look, you're near a support. That's good. All right, you got the support right here at, what is that? Just over 11 cents, something like that. What's the low here? Oh, no, I'm sorry, 8 cents. That low is 8 cents. Here, let me put the line right there. It's around here. All right. So at this moment, you have this bearish pin bar. No reason to buy this right now. Right? I would wait either for a pullback. Where does this bearish pin bar go? I'd let the market answer that question. Perhaps you can get another test of that 8 cent area. And if you're looking for a longer term move on something like this, that would make sense. Now here's the thing. If you're building inventory on something like this, you can buy at any price. You control your risk with the amount of size. So for example, if you're going to buy 100 shares, you buy 10 shares or 20 shares, right? Or whatever. I mean, this thing's real cheap. So I don't know, let's just say you buy 100 shares and you buy another 100 shares if it goes to 8 cents, right? But this is not like a high quality stock. Obviously, it's 17 cents. High quality stocks are, usually a lot more expensive. That's why they're expensive. They're high quality. So you got to be very careful with these, okay? And technical analysis won't be as helpful until they really start going places, right? Something like, for example, Square. Square went from like $30 to $300. Technical analysis will be helpful during a run like that. But when this thing is moving from like 5 cents to 50 cents, okay. But there's going to be so much noise in it that it's so much better to just pick a stock that has a more reliable situation in terms of how technical analysis works. All right, so good question. Okay, OZSC, right? So I answered that one. Gabriel, do you believe in using average true range when setting stop losses? If yes, what multiples of the ATR do you generally consider? Okay, Gabriel, good question. Let me see how I'm doing with time here. All right, wow, 1:18. Okay, so I got to wrap this up here in a couple of minutes. So I see a lot of questions here in TradingView. I apologize. I'm not going to be able to answer these all. Okay, like I see questions. I'm just going to the bottom of the chat here. Like AMRX, ENGIN. I'm seeing Euro Pound, Litecoin. Right, I just see all these questions. I apologize. I'll do another one of these streams at some point, and I'll try to answer those questions again. I'm sorry, I won't be able to answer those all. I'll be here all day, but I do appreciate you asking them. Okay, so just to wrap this up here, I have the question. Well, I see a Euro Pound, so I'm going to answer that, and then I'm going to just answer Gabriel's question. Okay. So again, and thank you all for watching this. Now, Gabriel, the ATR, average true range, that can provide some interesting information. But here's the thing with average true range. Can I pull that up on my thing? Let me see. Let me see here. I'm going to see if I can pull that up so you can get an idea. ATR. Right, if I put an average true range on my chart, I don't use any oscillators, by the way. If there's an average true range, this is obviously it's going to fluctuate constantly, right? So an average true range, this setting has an ATR 14 setting, meaning it's measuring 14 bars, 14 daily bars, and it's putting it through its formula, and it's giving me some kind of number, which in this case would be 6 cents, just over that, okay? If I pull up something like Bitcoin, for example, and I look at the ATR is 3805. That's almost 4,000 points is the average true range. So what does that mean? It's looking at an average range over 14 bars, okay? So it's going to change constantly. to answer your question, do I use it? I don't use it. And as far as what kind of setting to use on that, I mean, it depends on the strategy. So here, I'm trying to pull up the euro pound. Okay, so it depends on the strategy. If you are day trading, you're obviously going to have to use a different ATR than if you're swing trading or position trading, because the number is going to be dramatically different. You're going to be measuring 14 one-hour bars versus measuring 14 daily bars, right? You're going to have a completely different number. So, I mean, what I've seen done before is people will place a stop at like 2 times the ATR. They'll take that ATR number, multiply it by 2, and put the stop there, or 3 times ATR. You can do stuff like that, and as ATR changes, your stop is going to change. You can do that, but you know what? I found that it's better to place my stops, because I only use stops obviously for swing trades or shorter time frame strategies. I like to use price structure, okay? And I like to do estimates around the price structure, because price has proven itself around the structure. Like, for example, support or resistance. Like here in this euro pound example, you have this little resistance right here, okay, a lower high. Obviously, there's selling activity there. So if I was going to short something like this, I'd want to put my stop above there, no matter what the ATR says, because people have proven to sell there, and if price breaks that level, it has no business doing that if it's going to be weak. So I want to be out if I'm short, right? So that's why I like to use price structure. It's more in tune with the intent of the market. All right, so euro pound. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Again, I appreciate all your questions. I apologize if I didn't get to your question. Come back to my next stream when I do one. I'm not sure if I'm going to do trading twice a week. There's a lot of work for me to get this thing going. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it was. So maybe I'll do it like once a week or something. We'll see. Okay, anyway, so let me get to, so let me talk about euro pound, and I'm going to wrap this up. Euro pound, obviously it's the euro against the pound, and it's a cross pair. I don't like cross pairs. What you're doing here is you're competing with, it's the speed of how fast one moves against the other. If the pound and the euro are both going lower, but the euro goes lower faster, then this thing is going to actually go lower, right? If the pound goes lower faster than the euro, this thing's going to go higher, which it's confusing, right? If the pound goes lower than the euro, faster than the euro's going, then the euro pound will go higher. So just something to keep in mind. I don't like these cross pairs, again, for those reasons. I'd rather trade against something like the dollar. So technical analysis is less reliable in these situations. Sure, you could put some levels on the chart. We can look at some levels, right? And you have a lower high over here, lower high over there. Obviously, the euro and the pound are going to have to continue to go lower together, and the euro is going to have to go lower faster, right, for this thing to keep going lower. Should you short it here? Well, if there's any noise in this thing, and that's the problem with these cross pairs, they're very noisy, you can easily get tapped out at this 86 area, 86, 67, or whatever that is. So I would rather either look at the euro or the pound, right? So let's just pull up the euro, right, in relation to that. Here's the euro. Look at the euro. Boy, it's pulling back fast, right? But that's a result of the strong dollar. So you can't short this now. You're shorting right into support. Yeah, it looks great now after the fact, but this thing can easily bounce. It's got support. Look at this. What is this? The 118s. Where are we right now? 118.5. So it can easily turn. While there's no evidence of it turning, it's in a location where there's a high probability of it turning higher. That would make sense with a dollar pullback, all right? Dollar pulls back a bit, gives us a higher low. This will pop up a bit and give us a lower high. So I would rather trade the euro or the pound, and I'd be looking for longs at this point because of that support. And the broader trend is generally bullish, but that may be changing with the dollar changing. Okay, so that's how I would judge something like that with the euro pound. And I wouldn't do anything with it at these prices. Wait for the euro or the pound to do something special first. And sometimes they get out of line with each other, right? Which makes things even more confusing. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, everyone. So I got to wrap this up now. For those of you on TradingView that have never seen one of these before, I talk a lot. And you know, Michael once joked from the other chat. Michael joked that I can talk about the weather for 3 hours. Okay, which is true. So I got to wrap this up now. I want to thank you all for your great questions. Again, I apologize if I couldn't answer your question. Hey, check out our stuff if you can, and give me a like or whatever. Register for the channel if you found what I'm doing here helpful. I'm going to try to do this again on TradingView. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you find some insightful and helpful information here. And of course, all my regulars on YouTube, thank you all for all your great questions and all your participation. And I will see you next time. What is Benjamin saying here? Entered BTC around 10K, didn't take any profit. What would be a good price to take back what I invested and some profit? Should I wait for 60K? Well, Benjamin, at this point, Bitcoin's going higher. So, you know, until that changes, maybe let some ride, but you should lock in something. I mean, if you haven't locked in anything, it's always a good idea to take something off the table, no matter what. Well, take something, all right? Even if it's 10% of your position, 5%, it never hurts to take profit while it's available, all right? You're never going to get the top. People ask this question all the time. You're never going to get the top. But at this moment, Bitcoin is trying to go higher, so it does pay to give it a chance. But that thing that starts pushing 52, 53, 54 and hesitates, you know, I would suggest, you know, taking something off the table. That would be an effective thing to do. All right, everyone. So thank you again for all your great questions. Thank you so much for everything. And I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for watching.